the field and tried to find, we were already doing and we're already considering implementing, and we can begin implementing those regardless of what council approves. Right now, we just can't bet it's going to save us money. But if it comes in under, then it won't be a 7% increase next year. It will be a 4% increase or something else. And so we've got a long way to make up, and we do things all year long to try and make it better and to try and save costs. It's not a stagnant thing. It's a matter of just adopting a plan so you all can meet the legal requirements of open enrollment and not have, I mean, you know, a couple of years ago we all were trying to do the right thing, listening to our employees. We were very torn because we had to radically change our health care system at the city, and it was going to be expensive, very expensive. And it was a decision that we wanted to make sure we had all the information that we made in order to make it. And it ended up taking us months to make the decision. Push open enrollment, and as you heard earlier, cost us millions of dollars that could have been used, obviously, for other things. So delay has a price tag. And so we're not saying that we're not looking at any of the ideas you've already brought forward or the ideas you might bring forward. We'll look at all of them. We'll implement them now if they can be lawfully implemented without undue cost to you. And don't forget, yes, it's a huge cost to you all, but I hope it is some, and obviously it's not, solace that the city's picking up 70%. And so I know you're saying, you know, on the burden on the employees, We hear you. We're taking the 70%, the 30 is still a burden. I do want to, the 23%, Retha, whether you say it now today or whatever, we need to know there is a 20% increase in our health care costs for the city. 70% of that's being absorbed by the city. 30% of that 23% increase will be absorbed by the employees at different rates depending on whether it's family coverage, individual coverage, and so forth. And I think we need, because 30% of 23% would be like 7%. So, which is still money, as we've talked about. It's still an increase, but it's not a 23% increase. So I just, you know, some people don't have the luxury of time to sit here and listen to all this. Y'all don't either. But they're catching what they can. And it's, you know, it stops people's heart to think a 23% increase. And I'm pretty sure that we're absorbing 70% of that 23%. And so I think we need to, you know, and Randy said don't go back and forth and you know, but that's a classic thing of if that's not right, we want to correct it so we can worry about, it's enough to worry about at 7%. You know, we want to worry about the right thing and put our energy towards that. Anything on that, or do you want to come back?
And I'm glad you make that point,
Yeah.
Mayor, because I was going to ask staff to clear that up before we leave, because,
Yeah.
as I said, this is live and then it's rebroadcast. I've got her pulling up the PowerPoint that shows the rates as they exist today, and what the rates will be effective January for single family employee children, and you'll see the current and then the new and then what the 2% will do. And so I want that slide on the screen.
And I know also if you went from a low-cost plan to the gold plan, there could be a higher, but if you go from the current lower-cost plan to the silver plan, it's not as high an increase.
Well, that's the slide I've got
Right,
them
okay.
pulling up. And then the other point I wanted her to make, and I think she has the numbers, I believe it was 2009 through 2014, there was no increase in health care. And for employees, yeah, you deferred it for employees.
And used up the reserve.
And then 15 and 16 there was an increase. So if they can pull the PowerPoint up that
Yeah, I
show.
think too, and that probably explains why it seems like a shock to the employees that for years we were paying this out of the reserve and not passing on the true cost of insurance or health care through the 70-30 split. And then when you run into the wall of there being no more savings account or no more reserve, you have to find a way to make sure that we're still providing health care for our employees. So that's what you see, and I think that's some of the shock to the system. And I don't know if Retha, if y'all have that.
Well, and we've got it. They just got to make sure it's the right one. But I think it's important that the employees see the rates, and because we showed it to employees, not the last meeting, but the meeting before.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we came back at the last meeting with the resolution.
Yeah.
And so, and we're going to need some direction from council after having delayed the resolution at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to get with the parties and try and answer those questions today that have been presented to council. And, we just need some direction as to where we go from here, because I'm prepared to bring the resolution back at the next meeting so that we can stay on track with open enrollment. But if you want to further delay it because there are some questions that we have not answered, or you want us to look at something else, then we're happy to do it. But hopefully we've answered the questions today, and you know that those things that were brought forward by the FOP and Mr. Charlie Day, the things that he shared with them, we haven't discounted those things. We have looked and will continue to look at those things that they highlighted, the things that were numbered 1 through 7. I think we gave you an update on all of those things, and hopefully we've answered your questions, and we'll continue to look and at those things going forward. But when I talked to Charlie Day, I mean, he acknowledges that those are not low-hanging fruit. Those are things that you can look at over a period of time. So it's not getting ready to happen, narrowing the network in the next 3 months or 6 months. If that's an option that you want, and we certainly are going to look, then it would be looked at over a period of time, but it's not getting ready to happen immediately. And so,
Councilor Henderson, I think, had
so
a
we'll
comment,
need some direction.
but I want to say that I read a nice note from Charlie Day. I believe he wrote to you or the staff, I can't recall, saying, of course, it was not his intention to delay. I mean, he understood as somebody in the field that the delay could cause problems for those who are depending on this health care plan. And I also noted, and you may want to share that, Mr. City Manager, with council, that he said it was never his intention to, cause the kind of cost about the $2.3 million. He was just doing, as has been suggested today, making recommendations of things we might be considering, which is fair enough and information we want. And so I hope that we don't delay and cause this unintended harm to our employees or to our budget, and can go ahead and move forward with the understanding that we are going to do everything we can, adopting new ideas to help decrease the cost. And maybe people feel a little bit more comfortable with our efforts to decrease the cost. Let's see what Councilor Henderson has, and then if you could, Retha, talk to us about.
No, I'll just keep it very briefly. I guess we're going to do this so that the public sees what we've been paying, because I know I don't mean to demean it, but I don't think the employees care what that is. The point is that this last increase, as much as we hate it, is going to have a devastating effect.
Sure.
I'm sure they appreciate what we pay, but I think going into this cycle, it's just plain not enough. And the issue I was going to bring up is that if there are other things we can do, we could look at things like pulling back the COLA, and it'd taken an ordinance to do it, but we pulled back the COLA, and we could eat the difference between the figure that we were given in this printout, the 2.3 and the 1.2 that we're paying for the COLA, and then eat the 1.1, which would drive us another 2.5 days below the fund balance recommended level. We could still do that. But here's the challenge is, even when I listened to what Mr. Day said, as the mayor indicated, I don't know that any of these are going to have an immediate impact. And all that does is defer that other 1 million deficit for next year to have to be addressed then. Now, it does buy us time if we did that. It'd buy us enough time to try to look at it, but we tried it a couple of other instances to try to keep from putting additional burden on the employees, and that's how we got where we are, where there's now a bigger hill than would have been if we'd have done incrementally. So I agree with you. There's always something that we can do. We just have to make sure that if we take some kind of dramatic action like that everybody understands where we're headed.
And always, I know we get into the forums, a lot of employees say that the COLAs aren't a lot. They're not. Always take a COLA or a raise. It's better than having, people may argue with this, but my opinion, for what it's worth, is it's always better to take a raise or a COLA than to allow council to subsidize your insurance for that year, because your future raises and your future COLAs are based on the increase in pay you've had from the prior increases. And if they've been subsidizing your insurance, you're not getting that same benefit, that same monetary benefit. So you always want the COLA, you always want the raise, and then we can do what we can to mitigate the cost of the insurance. At least there you have choice as to the cost that you're going to be incurring. If you defer your COLA, it just keeps the income suppression that we're trying to address. Retha.
Mayor, I just wanted to mention in terms of the premium increases annually, and maybe that helps a little bit explain why this is such a shock here. But from 2009, the employee-only premium was $42. That was employee-only premium. From 2009, it was the same in 2011. It was the same in 2012, $42 for employee-only. In 2013, it was $42 for employee-only premium. That was from 2009 all the way actually till June of 2014 that the employee-only premium was $42. It was in June of 2014 the increase was extremely nominal. June of 2014, that's when after council we had months and months. I remember, and I have it documented, from September of 2013 until February of 2014, it took that long for us to get to changing the premiums for employee only from $42 to $42.83. So, yeah, so that time in between, it wasn't because the cost of health care was not rising. The cost of health care even then was rising on average anywhere from 8 to 10% annually, but employees were not feeling the impact of that in their premium costs, nor were their plan changes designed. It was only until 2015, and in 2015 the premium cost went up for an employee only to $63.33. In 2016, what we're currently paying right now, is $71.02, and that's employee-only premium. That's on the HMO plan. It's a little bit cheaper if you're on the Health and Wellness Center plan. It's $59.65. Of course, if you're on the POS plan, it's $65.69. That's for employee-only premium. So yes, when we consider where we've been and where we're trying to get to make up a deficit, then yes, when we look at employee-only premium going into 2017, that being $104.65 if you select the gold plan, but then only $73.03 if you select the silver plan. And if you look at the HMO plan currently, the employee only is $71.02. If you select the silver plan, even now, as dramatic as this sounds, even now, if you select the silver plan, you're going from $71.02 to $73.03. That's not a huge change. Now, I hear somebody say, well, I don't want the silver plan, I don't want the gold, I prefer the gold plan. The silver plan, as I've said in many of these employee meetings, the silver plan is going to be your middle-of-the-road plan. It's going to fit most employees. Obviously, you're going to make a decision on your own, and that's what we've been telling employees. You think about your family situation and what works for you. The silver plan works best if you want as little out-of-pocket money up front. Your premiums to remain as close as they are now, choose the silver plan. If you choose the gold plan, recognize that you're going to pay more out of pocket so that when you have to access care, you don't have to pay as much out of pocket. But if you don't want to have your premiums go up quite as much, and think about it, when you have to go to the doctor, you got to have an MRI, you got to have surgery. Yes, your out-of-pocket expenses are going to be a little bit more. But if we're just talking about premiums, keeping our premiums pretty close to where they are now, in your own HMO plan, going from $71.02, you'd be moving to $73.03, which is not a significant change, and we're just talking about the premium cost. And I recognize that there are other costs that are associated with it, but these are out-of-pocket costs. They come into play when you actually access care.
And then, Retha, even when you talk about the more drastic increase from the Health and Wellness Center, which I think was artificially subsidized by us to encourage people to get in it, hoping that the more people that got in it would, drive down the cost. But even when you go from the more drastic, from the Health and Wellness Clinic biweekly to the proposed Silver Plan biweekly, does that include the offset of the COLA? So what the net effect is?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's right. So you say, so you look at that, if you're an employee, and you say, oh my, it's like $12 biweekly, but
you're
then.
You're going to be to the good.
Right, but then
Absolutely.
you would have your COLA offset that.
Right.
And then if you had been on the HMO and you were doing the biweekly at $71 and it went up to the Silver Plan at $73, you get a 2% COLA and you would actually be making more
You get a raise.
money. So,
Right.
I mean, it's
Right.
not much, we
Right.
hear you, but at least we're, for
Yeah.
those folks, bettering, for the people who are going from the Health and Wellness Clinic to the Silver Plan, bigger gap, because
True.
it was being subsidized for all those years
Yep.
that they did have it.
Right, the premiums
So-
are lower there. That's
Yeah.
correct. If you're on the
But
health and
still,
wellness.
the COLA would offset that jump.
Exactly, it will help to offset it. That's correct.
All right.
So that's
All right.
Well, certainly, unless I'm told not to bring back a resolution at the second Tuesday meeting, I will bring back the resolution to allow us to move forward with the plan that was approved in the budget. And of course, we will continue to look at those other things, and we will not stop having updates and follow-ups on healthcare insurance. Is going to be ongoing. I mean, it's something that will just not stop. And so you're going to hear updates, and then after you approve, if you approve, immediately after open enrollment, we're going to be coming back to you with the master plan and what we're working on and sharing information. I mean, it's an ongoing process. And so I will bring back the resolution second Tuesday, and hopefully we can stay on track with open enrollment October 6th.
October 3rd.
October 3rd.
October 3rd.
Okay. Madam Mayor, that concludes my agenda.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing further, then let's see, we've got Counselor Huff.
To this.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. City Manager, just wanted to announce one last time, the West Central Georgia chapter of the Police Benevolent Association of Georgia would like to invite you and all of us to their upcoming Blue Lights and the Community event. The event is set to take place on Thursday, September 8th at 5:30 p.m. at the Columbus Visitors Center located at number 11 9th Street in Columbus.
So Thursday, September 8th at 5 p.m.
5:30.
5:30. I think I have this
Number
invitation.
11 9th Street, which is the downstairs there by the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yeah, okay, great.
And we can certainly put that on our upcoming events and on the website and CCGTV.
Thank you.
All right, great. If there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please state aye. All right, we are adjourned. Next time will be a proclamation resolution session. Thank you all.